So I've got a voice note now, okay? And this voice note, the officer who sent it wanted to be anonymous, which I'm more than happy to do. So I changed the voice on the voice note. I did some editing. The overall voice notes were about 10 to 20 minutes of just this officer pouring their heart out. So it's quite hard hitting. So what I've done is I've edited it down. And to be super careful and clear, I've then also sent it to the officer and let them do some more edits if they wanted to, which they then did. Because the last thing I want is for somebody to send something through and then them get into shit or feel uncomfortable or feel worried that, somebody is going to hear it and then be recognizable. So just know that when people send me things, I do everything in my power to make sure that they cannot be identified.
I have never in my career been to a point where I'm ready to snap. No one cares about policing. All they care about is what the figures are. And as long as the figures make us look good, that's what they think is the result that the public wants. And it's like, just because you've got figures doesn't mean you're good. And it doesn't mean that we've been doing good work. Anybody can shift figures and all that bullshit. Um, Policing's lost. What I joined for and what I stand for is no longer there because all people are interested in is coming in, is being promoted. I've got a clue about policing. I've got no empathy. I've got no connection, not only with the staff, but with the community. They don't understand what the communities are like. But welfare, there ain't none. I joined my job for the right reasons. I joined my job to be out on. I'm going to go. I joined my job to help people. I'm just a PC. I don't want to be a supervisor. I'm at breaking point. I'm at breaking point and no one cares. I didn't want to be a police officer. I just wanted to be a police officer.
This video was sponsored by my best-selling police memoir, The Job's Fuck Secret Diary of a Police Officer. After 10 years in the police service, I finally left and I decided I need to speak out. This book does a deep dive into police corruption, the real reason why the police force is falling apart, and things you will never hear in the mainstream media. You can check it out in the link in the description of this video. You could also grab some merchandise and support me on Patreon. And now, without further ado, enjoy the video. Hard hitting stuff. And unfortunately, and this isn't a new officer either. This is an officer that's been in for quite a long time. And as we can see from the voice note, what this officer sent through, they are at absolute breaking point. They described to me that there is no staff, that staff are dropping like flies due to stress, due to being overworked. The senior management don't frankly give a fuck when it comes to officer welfare. They bring in needless change and try and reinvent the wheel, which makes everything harder for everyone else. But it means that they get promoted. And once they've been promoted, then they can leave that division, they leave that station. So once they've implemented everything and they've got the result that they want, regardless of whether it's beneficial to the public or whether it's beneficial to the troops on the ground or not, it doesn't matter to them because they've then moved post. Then it's someone else's job to come in and clean it up, of which they will then get promoted off that because they'll then change everything again. It's wrong that we promote people based off arbitrary things such as a stat or a statistic or this detection or this amount of crimes we've detected or this particular thing which we've been focusing on. If we promoted management of how good they were at being leaders and how good they were at managing people and supporting people, we would have a dramatically different police force overnight. We would have more cops wanting to stay and probably more cops wanting to stay on that division because they don't want to, be under a different manager because they really like the manager and their manager really supports them, makes them feel heard and feel like they're valuable. And I've got some more things which I can say on that, which people have sent through. But as we can hear in that voice note, that officer is breaking their heart, absolutely crying their heart. And there was a lot more to that voice note, the collective voice notes, which they did send through, but obviously they didn't want me to read all that stuff out. And they were happy with what that was. And I just think that's so hard hitting and so powerful. And that's the reality of what's happening to cops right now. That's the reality of what's going on. I once heard a chief constable on the radio. Somebody messaged in and said, "What about police morale and everything else?" And their response was, "Well, nobody complains better than a police officer." It's like, right. So you are so far removed from the officers on the ground that you are quite happy to dismiss their genuine concerns and genuine points of contention and upset because you just put them down to, oh, well, they're just moaning. Well, they're moaning for a reason. And as we've seen, after years of being neglected and being underfunded and not being listened to and being kicked repeatedly, not just by the public, but also by the organization itself, cops are having enough. And I've said this. What I'm afraid of happening is one day I'll pick up the phone to call the police for help, and they'll go, "We don't actually have anyone. There's no one there because call takers are leaving, call handlers are leaving, staff are leaving, cops are leaving." But the senior management team, they're all right because they get to leave and they get a nice pay packet every month and they get another promotion in their ivory tower, sat at a table with all their mates, all licking each other's backsides. Meanwhile, cops are absolutely breaking. And there's, like I said, from that voice note there, some cops are, and the hard thing is for a lot of bobbies, the hard thing is for a lot of bobbies is that if you're 20, 25 years in, you've got so much skin in the game when it comes to your pension and everything else, you essentially become trapped. So we've got people in the service who've been in for so long that they can't leave and they have to keep going to work knowing that they're underappreciated, undervalued, under resourced, and the service doesn't care about them. And it's wrong. It's wrong. And I had another person reach out to me again. This has been edited because the officer wanted it editing. They didn't want anything to come back to them. And it says here, a police officer reached out to me stating that sexism is alive and well in the force. They describe blatant double standards. Male officers are handed the arrests and the juicy jobs, while women are sidelined to missing person inquiries, domestic incidents, hospital guards, administration tasks, and routine appointments. They were told that their supervisor, who does a lot of work outside of the job with staff, is being threatened with a forced move due to senior management not being happy with their management style in that they will support officers rather than toe the political line of the organisation. Due to this, staff feel that the job cares more about its bottom line rather than supervisors who want to support and help them. In their eyes, that's leadership. A supervisor should protect their staff, not hang them out to dry. They have been criticised for having their team's backs too much. They believe it's down to their sex, as other supervisors don't get this treatment. A supervisor should be close to their staff, be someone they can approach, be someone they can open up to if they have a problem, or so the supervisor knows them well enough to identify when something isn't right. When an officer is struggling, it's straight to a development plan to try and force improvement rather than actually sit down and try to understand what the underlying cause is and address this from the roots. The fact that this is being punished is indicative of the disconnect between the boots on the ground and the ones chasing targets. In a time where police morale is through the floor, it would seem that supervisors who prioritise their staff well-being over the needs of the organisation are punished. This is really, really upsetting. Really upsetting to hear. Really upsetting to hear that. And to that officer or to the supervisor, whoever sent it in, frankly, fuck what the organisation says, fuck what the bosses say. You are doing what a leader should do, and you are protecting your staff. You're looking after your staff. You are. It says you're being penalised for having your officers' backs too much. You're sticking up for your cops too much. No, that's what a leader. That's what a leader does. Like the buck stops with them. If their team was failing, it would be the supervisor's fault. Now, because the team isn't failing and because the team feels supported, that's still the supervisor's fault. So, how does the supervisor win? I'll tell you how they win. They do exactly what the organisation wants. They throw the cops under the bus to make the organisation look better, and they sell the soul to the organisation to make the organisation look better on paper. Meanwhile, like I've already said, cops getting burnt out, morale through the floor. That's not okay. And this thing about development plans, the amount of times I've spoken to bobbies who have said, like, I was off for a week or so, or I was too stressed and I had too much pressure put on me and the work was too much and I wasn't properly trained or supported when I got onto division. Then I was put on an action plan. Instead of them saying what's actually going on, how can we help? They've gone, you at fault, you're a problem. You're now going to get punished for your poor performance because we haven't set you up for success. It's grotesque and it's disgusting. And I wish that there were more supervisors like this one who actually took care of their officers instead of doing exactly what the senior management says. So this one is from a prison officer, and he told me about drugs getting in the prisons. Drugs get in the prisons plenty of ways. So lots of drugs go into prisons. A lot of the time they are condoms up someone's prison wallet. If you don't know what a prison wallet is, Google it. One lad had spice paper cut into credit card sizes and had it in a bag up his bum. There you go, prison wallet. He did a squat. I saw the bag hanging out and I pulled it out with a loud pop. Wow, a loud pop. Some air compression in there. The largest thing I ever found up there was a Nokia 3310, which, if you are young, a Nokia 3310 is about the size of a small car. And its charger. Charger as well, prongs. Ooh, no wonder he had a wince when he was walking. I've also found iPhones. I've got an iPhone. I mean, I don't. I mean, I could try the little Sanko phones that are the size of your thumb. Now, I believe the person who invented them marketed them as camping phones. Oh, they're dead small and compact. They're good for camping. Like, fuck off. We know exactly why you did it. We know exactly why you made a phone which was the size of your thumb. Like, who you trying to kid? One prisoner had a domestic incident with his partner over the phone, and the partner rang the jail saying that he had a phone on him. So they then provided a number, and then they rang the phone, and they were stood round with this prisoner waiting for this phone to ring, and then they heard it vibrating, and it was vibrating inside him. Why the fuck do I do this podcast? Some stuff I just don't want to hear. I got the good old emotional support hamster through. Yeah. Somebody told me that they have a colleague who was currently speaking to the Fed to apply for reasonable adjustments, that they could have a emotional support hamster, not just with them at the neck, but take it out and shift with them. Frankly, I think if you need an emotional support hamster, you're probably not going to be the best suited for a cop. Just saying. Right. Got some voice notes here from a officer who we shall refer to as Steve. Steve.
I got given an action plan because I hadn't arrested enough people. It's only because I spoke out that they then took it off my action plan. Because if you can't be told by a sergeant to arrest somebody, you can't legally, a sergeant can't go to you. You have to arrest him. It's your choice. So how can you put an action plan on someone for not arresting enough people?
He goes on to talk about other things, but that was the key thing I wanted to point out there. I've heard of officers now being graded red, amber, and green based on their statistics, based on their arrests. Arresting somebody means you're taking away someone's freedom. As someone who's been arrested, I can tell you now, it's a fucking awful experience. If you're not used to being in and out of the system and getting arrested is just oh, I can't. I remember locking someone up once who was like, oh, I can't be asked getting nicked. Oh, you can't be asked, can you? As if I've just told you to go and, like, nip to the shop for some milk. You can't be asked. Like, getting arrested is an awful experience. And it's something which I hope people don't ever go through because it's awful. You're stuck in a cell. You don't know what's going to happen to you. You don't know what time it is. You don't know when you're going to be let out. You don't know when you're going to be having your interview. Even after your interview, you don't know how long it's going to be before you're there. You're thinking of all the different possibilities of what could possibly happen. It's awful. And even after that, you then put on bail or release an investigation. It's this constant thing in the back of your mind. Well, I say the back of your mind. It's all you think about every second of every day. So taking somebody's freedom away should only be done when it's absolutely necessary. And this is one of the reasons I hate stat-based policing so much, because we are taking that and we're going, okay, if you haven't taken enough people's freedom away, regardless of whether it was necessary or not, we want the tick in the box. And if you haven't done that enough times, you're there to serve and protect the public. But if you haven't taken enough people's freedom away, then you're now going to be in trouble. And thankfully, this officer had enough about them to say, you can't do that. It's my power of arrest. If you want someone locking up, get out there and do it yourself. If you need that stat improving, get out there and do it yourself. And you also can't punish me for not doing something which is up to me to do. And this is just how we measure policing. Oh, we've arrested 20% more people this week or this month or this quarter. Right, okay. How many of them actually resulted in the detection? How many of those people actually needed to be arrested? And what impact has that had on society? Like, what impact, that ripple, what you put in that pond, how far do those ripples go? Is that person ever going to call the police for help again if it was quite a punitive arrest, which didn't need to happen? Is And have we actually put more people at risk? And what about the weight on the system, which has been caused by that extra arrest and the extra workload? Are the officers now focusing so much on closing that crime, which should have never happened in the first place, rather than dealing with the cases which actually need their attention? What's public perception like? Police arrest X amount of people for such a thing. Okay. Well, what about the crimes people are asked about? What about the people loitering around in the night, trying people's car doors or trying people's front doors, trying to burgle them? What about domestic violence, the severe domestic violence cases? What about all these different things? What about the cases that fall through because the victim withdraws support because the police just don't have the time or resources to keep them in the loop and keep them informed of what's happening because of the unjustified arrests? Where does this stop? And to punish officers and to grade them because what? They've had a compass, a moral compass. I thought honesty and integrity was part of the code of ethics of policing, and yet you're asking people to compromise that for the sake of how the organization looks. You cannot pressure somebody i- to use their power to take someone's freedom away when they don't have to. It's wrong. It's not okay. You cannot do that. And the ramifications of it are huge. The ramifications of it are massive. And what happens is, if you are a newer officer in service and this is just the world you've been, the world you live in and all you've ever known, if somebody says X, then you do Y, then why do you need all your decision making? Why do you need all your training about the national decision making model, about what is justified and what is proportionate and what is necessary and what's likely to result in a charge and what does the victim want and what's the risk factors? What's your threat harm risk like? All that goes out the window. A fucking robot could do it, which is funny enough something else, what this officer said.
Moral issue now. I mean, this was going back to what I was saying about they want to hire weak personalities with no opinions. Because unfortunately, and probably the reason I haven't got on and I'm looking to leave is because if you tell me to go round and nick someone for hurty words on Twitter, which don't equate to a crime. Don't. I'm sorry, they just don't. If there's obviously a crime there, I'll obviously go and deal with it. If it's just something someone doesn't like on Twitter, I'm a strong enough personality to stand up and go, no, morally, I'm not doing this. You can't force me to arrest someone. I'm not doing it. That's why they're interested in weak personalities, because they want people that will just blindly go yes. And you see video after video on social media, these police officers making absolute fools of themselves on the request of senior officers who are hidden, not on camera, not behind the camera, sitting up in their office telling these officers to go out and make clowns of themselves.
And I think that officer hit the nail on the head quite well there. It's great sitting in the back office somewhere going, we need to improve this and this and this and this and this, and we need to do this and this and this and this and this. Great. You're not the ones who've got to do it. You're not the ones who have to live with those decisions, and you're not the ones who gets all the shit for it. So, officers, if you're listening, it's your power to arrest. You cannot be penalized because you've not decided to take someone's freedom away. That doesn't mean be lazy. That doesn't mean walk away from a job which you definitely should have taken action at and locked someone up at. Um, And, you know, oh, I can't be asked for the paperwork. Like, that's not okay either. You have to do your job and you have to do it properly. But there's a difference between doing a job properly and doing it, taking action because you're told to do it. If you don't agree with it, if you not just in case you can't be bothered doing it and you're a lazy Bobby, in which case you shouldn't be in a job anyway. But if you turn up to a job or an incident and you're there, like you got a supervisor in your ear, you've got emails, you know, you have to send a justification for this if you don't do it. If you are stood at that incident and you're going, I I don't agree with locking this person up. There are other outcomes we can do. We can separate, we can put in referrals, we can do everything else. I don't agree with this, then don't do it because you're the one who's got to live with that decision. And when you open that door to locking somebody up just because your supervisor told you to, it's harder to shut because you've done it once. Do it again and do it again and do it again. Before you know it, you're not thinking for yourself anymore. And you'll fall out of love with your profession, you fall out of love with the job because you become a robot and you lose your empathy. It's not something what I advocate for. But if you go to an incident and there is, you know, this person clearly needs to come in, then do it because that means that we're arresting the right people instead of arresting anybody for the wrong reasons. I had an email from the inspector, which I was quite thankful for because a lot of the messages I get are from constables and sergeants. I don't get many inspectors messaging me. I've had one or two, but this one was one, and it was quite interesting, really, to hear their perspective too. So I've been an acting inspector for a year, and everything I do to support the troops just gets trashed by the senior leadership team, even to the point arranging portable something to provide scene guards a brew got scrapped. Anything welfare or well-being is the first to go. So we have an inspector here who's actually trying, similar to the supervisor I mentioned before. We have an inspector here who's trying to do the best for their cops, and even them, the senior leadership team, are going, "Why are you doing that? We don't want you to do that. That costs money. That's going to cost us money if you give cops who've been at a scene guard for the past 6 hours a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, just you know, to help them a little bit. Because I've been stood on scene guards for 10, 11, 12 hours. It's boring. You're tired. Your feet are hurting. You're getting shit off the public because they just want to go down there. I don't live down there, mate. I just live down there. You can't go through. Ah, you're a fucking arsehole. Like, you know what I mean? You're at the forefront of people's bad day if you're on the scene card. The best one I had was I was right. So person on the bridge, close the road right before it. I'm there. It's off a roundabout. I'm there. Park my car sideways across the lanes. Put my reds on and put cones out either side. Clearly, you can see, and I put a thing out saying incident, road closed. Some guy saw the slightest gap in the cones and thought, I'll get past that. He then tries mounting the curb to drive past, and I get out my car. And I'm like, mate, what are you doing? You can't. Oh, well, I don't know where to go. I have to go that way. That way, you're gonna have to find another way, aren't you? He then he then repeated some expletive and then disappeared. And I'm now like, do I need to put up a concrete barrier to physically stop you? Do I need to blow part of this bridge up so that you can't cross it? I mean, you'd probably still whip up a ramp and try and jump over. But if you want to ruin people's day, if you want to be in a shit end of a shitty stick, jump on the scene guard, tell somebody the road's closed. Number one way to piss off the public. Actually, that's wrong. The number two way to piss off the public is to close the road. Number one way is to close the road they live on. Fuck me, you're in for it then. Um, and I'd have loved my inspector supervisor to come down and go, yeah, here's a brew. Oh, nice one. I feel great now. Or I'll watch it for 10 minutes. You go and have a, you know, go and have a piss or whatever. Awesome. Thank you so much. No, but senior leadership says that's too expensive. And they sent me further because I asked them for more context. And they said, we've lost autonomy on welfare and support. We do what we can to support, but our decisions to deal with absences are being overridden by senior leadership team. The decision of the line manager as to whether absence periods are dealt with by management or action are fading. We now see the leadership team demanding action be given um, when the first or second line managers are making sensible decisions based on personal knowledge of their staff. So a supervisor might go, okay, well, Fred is clear, he's having issues at home, like everything, so he's going to be off a little bit. You know, he's not well, and he's suffering welfare wise. They'll go, well, in this fucking handbook here, it says that, you know, Fred needs to be in shit for that. All right, okay, brilliant. The wellbeing hubs, which provide support for trauma response and manage the internal support systems, are one of the first things to go under tough choices that is inevitably coming onto an already overworked sergeants without any proper training. So, sergeants are at the shit end of the stick because you've got the staff who obviously report to them and say, Sergeant, I'm having issues, or you know, they've got to manage the team, and then they're also getting it from the top as well. So they're like kind of shit end of the sandwich. So the constables are the ones under the boot, the sergeants are the ones like that trying to hold the boot up. That's a good analogy. That I might use that trademark. People experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder are thought of as not suitable for the job, or they can't, or that they can't take it. This is largely down to College of Policing. This is largely down to the College of Policing and recruitment focusing on academia and not operational suitability. I'm taking 90% of the well-being support on so that my sergeants aren't burnt out. That's on top of my own poor mental health. Those of us who take on promotion for the sole reason of wanting to look after our teams can't achieve what we set out to do. I leave work every day feeling I failed my team. The turnover of people is ridiculous. In less than 5 years at my station, I have been the 15th inspector on the team, and and at the same time, I've had 13 line managers. It doesn't specify whether this is the inspector's line manager or whether it's probably the sergeants, to be honest. So somebody higher up's clearly screwing it all up, aren't they? Somebody higher up is going, well, it's working, or we won't change it because then I won't get promoted and make me look bad. Meanwhile, it's all crumbling. 15, 15 inspectors. Like I said, even small gestures are taken away. I started an affordable shop. Arguments over clash with vending machine contracts, providing hot drink facilities for scenes in cold weather, taken away. Requests for sanity products on level twos, no funding. So, you know, females who are riot officers sitting on a carrier for 10 hours, sanitary products not allowed. That's awful. How can the service say that they care about welfare when that's the way that they treat them? 14 years in the job, half as a uh, sergeant and now acting inspector, and I would honestly leave tomorrow if I could. If we can't look after our own, how can we retain staff and look after the public? Recruitment is broken. No training is non-existent, and the promotion process is not fit for purpose, putting the wrong people in decision-making positions. And this is exactly what I've said. People get promoted and how well they make the organization look, rather than actually how they lead and support people. And they also say here, there does seem to be a push for cost cutting, and that includes people. We have disbanded our career development leads, stopped stay conversations. So when somebody wants to leave, they used to do an exit interview to try and convince them to stay. Like, you know, we can change things, we can make it a bit better for you. We want to keep you. I didn't have a stay interview. When I put in my resignation, I was basically like, okay, I got a generic copy and paste email off the chief inspector, and the superintendent collared me the superintendent collared me in the corridor and basically said, like, "I believe you're leaving." And they were supportive of the move because they knew the stuff I wanted to do afterwards. But I'd done a lot for that person and I'd got a lot of good results for the team. And there was no like, "Can we help you to stay?" It's just a case, well, if you want to go, go. Right, okay. Um, we now appear to have a culture of if you want to leave, you'll save us money. Probations are cheaper than experience. It's easier to get new people in and put bums on seats rather than try and keep dedicated, experienced staff because they cost more. Hi guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then check out the full podcast episode right here.